So before the show actually starts today, Steven doesn't know this, but last week we went out to Dave and Buster's, and I put this nice little, of course it's green and you can't see it, uh, bright green rocket ship on his car, and he has been driving around with it on his car on the wheels, for a week now. At least I think so because he hasn't said anything. So this is gonna be when he hears it. Here's a picture right there of it on his car from last week. So whenever he hears this, I'll probably get a text or so. But I thought it was a fun little prank, harmless. All right, now on with the show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to MeowMix, the Carolina Panthers podcast. My name is Steven.
My name is Jerry.
And we are here with another episode of MeowMix. Before we get started, just want to have a little bit of a call to action for folks. We do not do a lot of advertising for this podcast. We don't do a lot of self-promotion. We don't do much of anything other than put the podcast out. We have a Twitter.
Hey, you like to get on fights in Twitter.
I do like to get in some fights on Twitter, but yeah, I mean that's pretty much all we do. We don't, go out and follow 15,000 people so they'll follow us back. We just sort of do our own thing. But occasionally we do ask if you guys can go check out the YouTube, subscribe, give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. That really helps us with discovery and everything. So we will read 5-star reviews on the show. We've done it in the past. We'll do it anytime we get them. So we do appreciate that a lot. But yeah, just a quick little call to action. If you guys could help us out, that'd be great. Just get some more folks interested in the podcast, grow the community a bit, and maybe we can do some more stuff. So
yeah, the mailbag's also always open for any questions or comments. We'll read them on the air unless they're too negative. But mailbag at meowmixpodcast.com.
Yeah, and comment on Twitter. We typically comment back. We like to have the conversation. So if you guys could do that, that would be amazing. All right, not a ton of news to talk about here, but a pretty important Panthers historical thing, I guess we want to talk about. An honor. An honor has been bestowed.
And it's so nice to see. We knock David Tepper quite often here. We have
deservedly so.
We have had some issues with him, but one thing that he has gotten right was inducting players into the Hall of Honor, something that was completely neglected under Richardson. They went ahead, did Jordan Gross, Steve Smith, Jake Delhomme earlier, and now welcome to
Wesley
the
Walls.
honor.
Well.
Wesley Walls, sorry. Muhsin Mohammad and Julius Peppers. Two guys, deservedly so, definitely needs to be on there.
Yeah.
What could you say? Julius Peppers probably the biggest name from Carolina besides Cam Newton and Steve Smith.
Yeah, I mean, certainly I would say Peppers, I mean, it's not, I wouldn't say, he is on the Panthers Mount Rushmore, right? I mean,
yeah.
If you're looking at the four guys, it's Cam, Peppers, Steve Smith, Kuechly, most likely in some order.
Mm-hmm.
And Peppers here for a long time, left for a bit, came back, finished his career here. One of the all-time sack leaders, certainly the all-time sack leader for Carolina, I believe, still.
Yeah. 97 sacks.
Yeah.
The next one is Charles Johnson at 67. I mean, that's a big fall off.
Yeah, pretty dominant there. And then Moose, Moose had a great career. You don't think of Moose when you think of great Panthers players. He doesn't come up in the first 5, 6, 7, 8 names that you think of, but he had a great career. He had a year where he had 1,400 yards, 16 touchdowns. In 2004.
Mm-hmm.
That's
he led the league in receiving.
Yeah, that's and touchdowns. He almost had the Triple Crown. He had another year where he had 102 receptions, 1,183 yards. Another one where 96 receptions, 1,200 yards. This guy was a great Panther, and he was great in the community. never got in trouble. He really good role model, great leader. I'm glad to see both of these guys in the Hall of Honor.
Yeah. All the things you just talked about with Muhsin Mohammad, one thing that you didn't mention, but was so key to those early Panthers team, is his tenacious for blocking. Him and Steve Smith were so great at blocking downfield for those running backs who would get the edge, and he would break them off. Or you would see like a big run play, and you would see Moose on the side just like bowling down a safety to get extra yards. It was so nice to see it. Something that a lot of receivers don't tend to do, especially nowadays.
Yeah, and Steve Smith, I think, credits Moose for a lot of things with his career, but the main thing I think was the blocking. He said Moose was always on him about being a better blocker, and that was one of the things Steve Smith is but most known for. Is his blocking. What is the last year? Maybe you have this up, but what's the last year Moose played here? Do you know? Don't look it up. I have it up.
Oh, well, he ended his career here, and I know when his career ended, so it was 2009.
It seems like so much longer than that, right? I mean, I know that's 14 years ago, but, I was thinking 2004, 2005 was the last time he was here, but no, he came back. He had almost 1,000-yard season in 2008 with us, had a really good season, and then 2009 finished it out. Nice to see that both of these guys were here, went to Chicago for a bit, and then came back. I know Peppers also played with Green Bay, but that was kind of they wanted to come back and finish their career in Carolina.
Correct. And I'm gonna finish off with Moose, and then we'll probably talk a little bit more Julius Peppers.
Yeah.
The one big thing about that Super Bowl that against New England was that 85-yard touchdown. I mean, longest in Super Bowl history. I don't know if it still is. It may have been beaten recently, but I know it was still standing a few years ago.
Yeah.
But man, that was such a huge thing. People, I always feel like he's underrated as a generational type of player. Like, you have your elites, the Jerry Rices, stuff like that. Moose was so good for so long that it was just
he went 4 for 140 in that game.
Yeah, crazy.
4 for 140 in the Super Bowl. I mean, that's the biggest stage that you can be on, and he produced, and 35-yard average per catch there. What else you got on Peppers?
I mean, come on. All right, I'm going to go over his stats because his stats are insane for here at Carolina. These are just here in Carolina. We're taking out, what was it, like 6 seasons?
It was 2010 to 2016.
Okay, 97 sacks, 97 sacks, 6 interceptions, 2 touchdowns. He also had 101-yard interception return that wasn't for a touchdown. He ran out of gas. I mean, forced fumbles, 34 forced fumbles in his career here. 89 QB hits, that doesn't include the sacks. 107 tackles for loss. He will be the Panthers' first homegrown Hall of Famer. He will be. I love Steve Smith, but I don't see him getting into the Hall of Fame before Julius Peppers.
Yeah, I mean, unless Steve just ends up being a first team or a first ballot Hall of Famer, which I don't think. I mean, we've talked about that before. We both think that he'll get in.
Steve is already on the ballot.
Oh, okay.
He didn't even make the finals. It's
yeah.
because that logjam in wide receivers.
Yeah. Well, if you're looking at Pepper's entire career, 159.5 sacks total, which I think he's what, third on the all-time list?
Yeah.
I believe. 9 Pro Bowls, 3 first team All-Pros. 13 times he was player of the week in his career. And if you're just looking at when he was not in Carolina, 62.5 sacks with Chicago and Green Bay. I mean, he was more productive with Carolina. The numbers are better with Carolina. He was here longer, but
That would put
when
him
he,
third.
yeah,
Third in this team sacks underneath
yeah,
himself and Charles Johnson.
just those, yeah, right. But he came back in 2017, and what we expected, that he would play. We were hoping he'd play all of the games, but he'd come in for 20 snaps a game, right? And just give
Keep it
us some
fresh.
depth, right? 11 sacks that year. 11 sacks, played all 16 games, started 5 games, ended up with 33 tackles, 12 tackles for, or 10 tackles for loss, uh, 2 fumble recoveries, 2 forced fumbles, and recovered both of them. That 2017, 2018 seasons, he had 16 sacks in those 2 seasons for us. And that was huge. Those were huge for both of those seasons. I don't think you can say enough about how great Julius Peppers was, for his entire career, but what he really means to Carolina. And if you saw the video where Tepper called him and let him know that he was, being inducted into the Hall of Honor, you could just see how much it touched Peppers, like how excited he was and honored, honestly, that he was. And of course, Nicole Tepper had to come in there and do her thing, but it was really cool to see.
I have actually not seen that. I've been watching actually highlights of Julius
Yeah,
Peppers. I'm
yeah.
that
I
guy. I
mean,
was like, oh
that's
man, let me.
always a good thing to do. Yeah.
I was like, let me look back because did he block a punt? Because I want to say there was one game in Tampa that it was him and Chris Jenkins. I don't know if he got the blocked field goal or not, but he made such an impact in that game. It was like 13-13, and it if they got this extra point, the game was over.
Mm-hmm.
But either him or Chris Jenkins came up, swatted it, and they ended up winning that game. It was beginning of the season. It was insane. I always
Yeah.
remember that because he had such a great game that year. Kind of wish I
He had
remembered what exact game that was.
he had 4 interception return touchdowns in his career for a defensive lineman.
Mm-hmm.
That's really impressive. That's pretty awesome. But this is a guy that he was a college basketball player for Carolina, extremely athletic guy, just multi-talented. It'll be great to have him up there in the Hall of Honor. Jerry, can you name? Don't look. I'm sure you probably already know. Can you name the three? I don't even want to say player, but the three prior Hall of Honor uh, entries before David Tepper started adding people.
It was McCormick,
Mike McCormick, the first team president
Sam
of the
Mills,
Panthers, Sam Mills,
and PSL owners.
and PSL owners. And the PSL owners, I think, were added in like 2002 or something. And then there was nothing
There was nothing.
until Tepper started, added Delhomme, that crew. So who's next? I mean, I don't know how long you would have to be retired. I mean, obviously, Peppers, it's been 5 years since he last played. I think Steve Smith, I don't know if it was 4 or 5 years with him, but do you think that's going to kind of be the criteria here is 5 years after you're retired?
I think it has to be. From my perspective, I assume that they're gonna make sure you're not coming back. That
Mm-hmm.
because you got to think you got Thomas Davis, you got Luke Kuechly, you got Greg Olson. I mean, that's
Mm-hmm.
3 right there. Then you got Cam right behind him. That as soon as they feel like he's done, will probably step in.
But what about
So
like John Casey?
see, I would love for John Casey.
I
I
think John
think
Casey will end up making it.
because there are some guys like a John Casey that maybe not get so much publicity
Mm-hmm.
nationwide, but we know what he did for the team. One that's currently on the team, JJ Jansen. Like, I know that's a
Mm-hmm.
weird one, but that's like another one that you could be like, yeah. I mean, do you get a different honor or do you put him in?
Yeah, I mean, not a lot of long snappers in the Hall of Honors around the
No, but I
league,
mean,
but
how many?
to your point, this is the longest tenured Panther.
Mm-hmm.
Has played the most games. He's really good. at what he does. Uh, not a Hall of Famer, obviously. You're not putting a
No.
long snapper in the Hall of Fame. But if you were, I think he'd probably be one of the ones, right? He'd be one of the
Correct.
ones that would probably go in. I th- I think they're going to honor him by just letting him do a whole bunch of media stuff after he retires because he's really like he does the cart
Oh,
talks
yeah.
and he's great. He's great at those. So I don't know that he'll end up there, but Ian Thomas definitely is gonna be there after his career's over. Um, are there any other wide receivers?
No. No, not
Probably
a
not. Huh?
DJ Moore is our third leading receiver of all time.
Yeah, I mean, you're not putting like Ted Ginn in there, even though he had massive catches for us.
No.
He just wasn't here long enough. Defensive guys, I mean, Charles Johnson, Mike Rucker.
I think Charles Johnson, Mike Rucker stand a good chance.
Yeah.
Um, Mike
Chris
Minter.
Jenkins. Was Chris Jenkins here long enough?
I want to
Mike
say
Minter for sure.
I think Chris Jenkins was here for a long time, and then he left for a big contract in
I know he
the
went to the
Jets.
Jets, yeah. But I don't know if he was here for 5 or 6 years or was it longer?
I'm looking it up. Sorry,
Yeah,
it's
well,
gonna
he was
take.
he was a big part of that defense in the
Oh
early
yeah,
2000s. Um, Tight ends, I mean, other than Olsen, no. Corners, are you putting Chris Gamble in? Probably not. Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
he was here
there's
6
probably
years.
okay. I see. I don't know if that's long enough. Yeah, I mean, so there's some coming up, like you
Yeah.
said. I mean, certainly Cam. Once DJ retires, I'm assuming he'll probably be in there. Was he here long enough?
Who?
DJ Moore?
No.
Once he retires, probably not. CMC?
No. I mean,
Yeah.
great players. That's not
Yeah.
the discussion. It's if they deserve to go. And I hate saying the word deserve because that's such a
So what's your
misnomer.
criteria for the Jerry criteria to get into the Hall of Honor? Is it longevity? That's got to be one of the factors, I think.
I think longevity. I think also what you did when you were here and how the
Yeah.
team did when you were here too. I think that kind of plays into a part
Yeah, I
because
mean,
this
you're looking at
recent
DeLone.
regime has
Yeah,
not done anything, and that's not to a lot of the players' faults, the good
right.
players, but not making the
Everybody on the
playoffs.
everybody on the list, other than I guess Sam Mills, I think has been to a Super Bowl with the Panthers.
Exactly.
Yeah, and Mike McCormick. PSL owners didn't really play in there, but extremely important. Those
Yeah,
PSL owners.
they paid. They paid.
Oh man, I hate the whole PSL thing. Um,
Oh,
uh,
I
all
do too.
right, well, yeah. I mean, congratulations to those guys. I'm looking forward to seeing. I don't think anyone was put in last year. Actually,
No.
it's been since 2019 since we've
Okay.
had anybody go
So
in.
Peppers just retired then, so
Yeah, so maybe it's 5 years.
I'm I'm fine with that. I have no problem with not doing it every year, forcing everyone in. I like
Yeah,
having I could look at every one of these players that are in and completely understand why they're in.
yeah,
There's no real questions in my mind on anybody that's in.
agreed. All right, well, let's move on to the next thing here. Prime Day. Buy anything? Any
No.
Panthers related merchandise?
No.
I did. I bought a Panthers straw hat to wear down to training camp.
Oh, I actually kind of like that idea because I may look for because
Yeah.
I burn easily and skin
Uh-huh.
cancer and everything like that. Yeah, I've been kind of
Yeah.
wanting to get a bigger font
It's
helmet.
it's regular $40 on sale
Uh-huh.
for $27.99. Looks like it's good quality. When I get it in, I'll wear it on the podcast. We show it off. But yeah, I think we're planning on going down either July 31st or August 1st, one of those 2 days. I might go both of those days. But so if you guys are out there, come check us out. We'll be around. Jerry will probably be wearing a MeowMix shirt. I don't currently have one, so unless Jerry can figure out a way to get me one, I guess I could figure out how to make one myself. But
Well, I mean, if I made you one, you want a black one. Black in Spartanburg heat is probably not the best idea.
yeah, but I'm fat, so the black is slimming,
Do
right?
you really care about that in the Spartanburg heat?
No, probably won't wear a shirt at all. Maybe
Oh,
I should
I'm
just
not
get a
gonna. I don't
MeowMix
think I'm gonna
tattoo.
be here. I'm
All
gonna
right, where are you gonna
be
be?
in California. I
They're
think
not
July
having training
31st.
camp in California.
I know it's crazy, but
Poor planning, Jerry. Poor planning.
yeah, it's.
Well, we'll talk about that off the air. But I'll be there for sure, and we'll probably have some other people from MeowMix who has been on the podcast before might be down there as well. So check that out. All right, Jerry, what is next?
We're actually gonna quickly talk about another future Hall of Honor guy, Bryce Young.
All right, I like the confidence.
You like that little
I like the
segue?
confidence. Yeah.
All right. No, but there was some news that kind of came out last week, and I really want to talk about it. Bryce Young brought quite a few Panthers down to Texas. Terrace Marshall Jr., Adam Thielen, DJ Shark, Laviska Shenault, and Cam Peoples all said that they were down at SMU practicing with Bryce Young, and I love this. I know this
Yeah.
most quarterbacks do this, but I love it, especially from a rookie, to get all the guys together or most of the guys together and start working on timing and everything else. I actually read a story or heard a story about Patrick Mahomes doing this last offseason with his receivers, and they
Mm-hmm.
did it at a facility where they filmed them all their practices, and then once they went back to training camp because they have no talking to the coaches. Oh, look
Mm-hmm.
what found out the coach's desk. All that practice tape.
Yeah.
But it was all organized by the players, so
Right. Yeah. I mean, those are the rules, and obviously not mandatory. And there are guys on the offense that didn't go for various reasons. But yeah, I like it too. And I like the leadership it shows from Bryce. He's a rookie
yeah.
and he's getting these veterans out there to work with him. I think that really shows a lot about the character of the team. And I know this isn't unique, right? This
No.
has happened before. But it's very easy not to do it, right?
Yes.
I
That
mean,
I think
we see some of the other rookies that were drafted around where Bryce Young was drafted. I haven't heard all of them doing this. So it's nice to see our guys out there doing that. And it's important, I think, because you're expecting, they've had very little time together so far.
yeah.
Training camp is only a few weeks, right? I mean, any extra time you get is going to be really beneficial for the season and to start off the season, quickly instead of taking 3-4 weeks to get your timing in. So
Yeah,
I love it.
especially with only 3 preseason games and most of the starters don't play. Bryce is probably only going to play, a few quarters.
Yeah, I'm
So,
interested to see, because obviously now with only the 3 games, what do you think? I mean, is he going to be treated like Cam used to be treated right off the bat, where he's 1 quarter in the first game, maybe goes to halftime in the second game, and then a play in the third game?
I think it depends on how they feel he's adapting to the speed of the game.
Yeah.
Those Jets practices I think are going to be key.
Mm-hmm.
So
I mean, that's the first preseason game is the Jets. So, and we were talking about this before, but the Jets, I believe, have been announced as the Hard Knocks team,
they have,
and that's going to be great because we're going to get to see some Panthers on Hard Knocks, because they're doing the joint practices and the preseason game.
And you might get to see Aaron Rodgers high on life.
That I could do without. But I'm excited to see. Honestly, if I never see Aaron Rodgers on TV again, I'd be perfectly fine with that.
They had to force somebody this year. No team was
Yeah.
willing to volunteer. So
yeah,
I'm kind of interested in the access they're actually going to get this year because of that.
I mean, I enjoy Hard Knocks. I think I skipped it last year, but when the Panthers did All or Nothing, that was really cool. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it was fun to see the behind the scenes stuff. And that's not quite as good of production as Hard Knocks, but it was still very cool. Unfortunately, it was a season where we were up and then we crashed. Like we really crashed. I think
And
that
if
was
you haven't,
Tepper's first season as well.
yeah, it was.
Yeah.
So
So that was interesting. And I'd love to see the Panthers on Hard Knocks again, or,
me
on Hard
too.
Knocks for the first time.
I will say this though, if you haven't checked out their Blueprint series of the
Hmm.
off season, oh man, so well
Yeah.
done. So well
It's
done. I
great.
can't give
Yeah.
the Panthers media more kudos on that. So well done.
The production quality alone is it's as good as NFL films, I think.
Yeah.
It's really, really good. So check that out. All right. Jerry, anything else before we end up
No,
here?
I think we're actually gonna be able to get to our ending segment pretty quickly.
All right. Well, I think that's going to do it.
All right. We want to thank everyone for listening. If you like the show, please let your friends know. Please follow us on Twitter at MeowMix Podcast. If you have any questions or comments, you can email us at mailbag@meowmixpodcast.com.
All right. Well, we'll be back let's see, when does training camp start? I think we'll be back probably next week to sort of do a training camp preview.
Well, we got to do a training camp preview, and then we have to do our draft, our defense
We got to do our
draft.
defensive, all-time defensive draft. So I think we'll be back next week, maybe towards the end of next week, to talk training camp. If not, it'll be the very beginning of the next week. So it won't be, I mean, we're starting to hit the time now where you're going to get more regular episodes. There's going to be a lot more to talk about.
You'll get more episodes. I'll get more
Yeah.
eye rolls from my wife, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna go record tonight.
Yes. I'm not even gonna tell you. All right, everybody. Well, stay safe out there and keep pounding.